This is session 4 of our Ramadan lecture series. And in this session, we'll continue with one more aspect of the debate that we have been discussing about the moon sighting versus calculation debate. And in this session, most of the problems arise when we are rigid about a particular system to the exclusion of the other, or vice versa. Most of the problems they solve by themselves if we are more reasonable in our approach and we take into consideration both the moon sighting as well as scientific calculation as our basis. So we explain the how a practical problem can arise just now in this session. So for that we will consider the lunar month, the Islamic months of Rajab, Shaban and Ramadan, 3 consecutive months of Rajab, Shaban and Ramadan. So Rajab, let's consider Rajab to be of 29 days according to the scientific data. But if we do not consider the scientific data, we have no way to know whether Rajab will be of 29 days or 30 days. So according to the principle of moon sighting, we complete 30 days for Rajab. Fine, so far so good. And next, the month of Shaban comes, and according to the scientific calculation, let us consider Shaban to be of 29 days as well. Now, without the data, the scientific data, the astronomical data, again, we have no way to know whether Shaban is of 29 days or 30 days. So we complete 30 days for Shaban according to the principle of moon sighting. So we are already having a 2-day error, by the time Ramadan begins. So Ramadan has now begun. We are discussing Ramadan has begun according to the moon sighting evidence we are discussing about now. I hope whatever we have explained till now, it's clear. So scientifically, according to the scientific and the astronomical data, both Rajab and Shaban were of 29 days duration. But since we decided not to consider any scientific data, according to the principle of moon sighting, we completed 30 days for both the months. As a result, we are already delayed by 2 days compared to the scientific calculation, and our moon sighting according to a moon sighting evidence, Ramadan starts 2 days later as compared to the actual start date for Ramadan according to the scientific calculation. Now let us consider this month Ramadan to be of 30 days. Now what happens is, since we are already 2 days 2 days out of phase, basically 2 days late, it is theoretically possible for the moon to be sighted on the 28th day, because on the 28th day, actually theoretically, the 30 days of the actual Ramadan, according to scientific calculation, it gets completed. Now, what happens is you actually do sight the moon. If you happen to sight the new moon, the crescent moon, the hilal, the crescent moon, if you happen to sight the crescent moon on the 28th of Ramadan, because it's 30 day according to the scientific calculation, I'm not telling you to consider the scientific calculation. You keep it aside because you're not using it at all. But based on the principle of moon sighting, now you are actually sighting the crescent moon. You can see it up in the sky on the 28th day of Ramadan, because scientifically 30 days have completed. I'm not telling you to consider 30 days, but what I'm saying is, according to our principle of moon sighting, the day with which we started the Ramadan and since then 28 days have passed, and again the crescent moon is now visible. The moon for Shawwal is now visible. Now what do we do in this case? Ramadan is of 28 days. So what's the problem? The problem is the errors that cumulatively accumulated month for month. And so as a result, the moon is now visible. The moon is now visible. If the moon is not visible, you will not come to know of the error. But since I'm saying it's theoretically possible for us to view or sight the moon. And if we do sight the moon, what do you do in this case? This is a problem. This is very problematic because we know for sure that lunar month cannot be less than 29 days. What it essentially means is that if we over rely on sighting, moon sighting through our naked eye, problems such as these, 28-day Ramadan, a paradox basically, can arise, indicating that we made error in the first place. Now, I'm not pulling up things from my imagination. It's very difficult. It is said that facts are stranger than fiction. It is very difficult to pull up these things unless such a thing has happened. This happened once over here in Kolkata, in India. It happened once during my lifetime. It has already happened once. And then there was a huge hue and cry. Where did we go wrong? So, okay. And one more point will clarify it beyond all doubts. There is a huge hue and cry about the moon sighting when the month of Ramadan comes. Do you think that people are so enthusiastic about moon sighting throughout the year? No, not at all. Not at all. So do you think, how are the things calculated in the rest of the months? Do you think every time the moon sighting evidence is relied upon, do they wait for the moon sighting to take place and someone to report and then start them? No, they base their calculations on scientific data and they make the necessary adjustments throughout the year. So what happens essentially is, since they make the adjustments throughout the year, we miss the start date for the Ramadan by maximum 1 day. And so we never notice this, never accumulates. There is never a cumulative error because these are adjusted, and these adjustments are not based, never based on sighting, naked eye sighting. These are always based on scientific calculations. So if you say that we have to use naked eye sighting for Ramadan only, then I don't take your word. If it has to be naked eye sighting for the marking the beginning of a lunar month, it has to be for all months, not just Ramadan. But then these sort of problems can creep in. So I'll give you one more interesting thing that happened. This has happened elsewhere. This happened in Kolkata as well, in India as well, that they published 2 consecutive dates. I mean, for 2 consecutive days, they published the same Islamic date. Same Islamic date. What does it indicate? They made some error previously. I hope the issue was very simple. I mean, we have described a hypothetical scenario, but this is actually very much possible. And this has actually happened at least once, to my knowledge. I mean, I'm aware of one time when this has happened and people were at a loss to explain what's going on over here. So there's no complications whatsoever. It's so simple. It's so simple. The moon sighting took place on 28th day because actually it was 30th day. So there's no confusion. I mean, it's so simple. So these are some of the problems that can creep into if we just become rigid and lose all our senses and logic and reason and become rigid on using one system to the elimination of all sorts of other systems. So that's the thing that we wanted to point out for this session. We don't have anything much to add for this session. We'll have other sessions which discusses about other issues, but we'll keep it separate so that it's easy for us to follow through. So that's it for now, and basically we'll return with more informative sessions in the future as well.